This is the for those listening, this is the Field of 68 After Dark. My name is Rob Doster. I have Stadium Insider Jeff Goodman and Jim Root from the Three Man Weave with me. If you're watching on YouTube, please hit that like button. Please leave a comment. All that interaction really does help us out. It helps grow the channel. We talked about Kansas. I think at this point you can probably say that Kansas is once again the favorite to win the Big 12, Jim, because Baylor, the number one team in all of the land.
Jim, what is he saying? Jim, he's already in 1 week. He's completely changed his tune to now Baylor's got no chance of winning the Big 12.
Well, did I say that?
They got a chance.
I didn't say that. I think you can comfortably say that Kansas is the favorite because Baylor just lost twice at home. We know how important it is to be able to get those home games. They lost to Oklahoma State and Texas Tech at home. Those are two games that if you're going to win this conference, you probably need to be able to get at home. So, Jim, am I crazy? Am I talking crazy? Am I losing my mind? I don't think I'm losing my mind.
No, not at all. I mean, I think you can like directly compare it to Kansas squeaking out that win this week against Iowa State at home. Like that's the kind of game you need to get if you're going to win the conference. And Baylor just had two where they weren't able to do it. Like they had it down to a 1-point game, 1-possession game, both times at home in Waco, crowd behind them. And they just couldn't come up with the play to get over the hump. And, you know, I think they were the worthy number one beforehand, but that little sequence, that not able to find open shots. I mean, like Sohan being out hurts, but that's not affecting the offense. So it's weird to see them struggle to create shots, struggle to hit shots when they get open ones. Yeah, I mean, I think Kansas does nudge ahead just because of the advantage of not having two home losses on the ledger.
So I have a take on that, and I'm curious, Jeff. I'm going to throw this to you, and I want to know what you think. I mentioned in the preseason that my biggest concern with Baylor was the fact that they had little guards, right? Like James Akinjo is not all that tall. Adam Flagler is not all that tall. LJ Cryer, not all that tall. Those guys are really good. Yep. They're not really big. And Oklahoma State and Texas Tech both are long, rangy, athletic, versatile, switch everything, throw different defenses at you, don't let you win by running your stuff, right? That's kind of what they are defensively. And I think when you have those smaller guards, you run into a situation where all of a sudden, if Adonis Arms, who's 6'6" and 24 years old and completely jacked, is kind of overwhelming some of these guys, they can have a little bit of trouble creating off the bounce. And I think that that's what we saw with these two games, is some of the limitations that come with the fact that their guards, who are really good, are also, 6 foot, 6'1".
To me, last year's team was a bunch of MFers. That's the difference to me. It's like last year's team, if they had lost the game, they would have come out in the first 10 minutes today and absolutely taken that team to the woodshed. An Oklahoma State team that has nothing to play for all year, right? They're not playing for a Big 12 tournament. They're not playing for an NCAA tournament. They're banned from both. Last year, Davion Mitchell would not have let that happen. That's my first take, is this team isn't last year's team. Last year's team was also on a mission because the tournament had been shut down the year before and they thought they could win the whole thing. This is a completely different team. They're very good, but they're not at that level of last year in terms of their killer instinct, in my opinion. Number two, there's no home court advantage in Waco. It's not a home court advantage, guys. In fact, it might be a disadvantage when you compare it to all the other places in the Big 12, right? I mean, Fog Allen, we know what that is, but Iowa State, really good. Kansas State, really good. Like, those are the bottom two teams in the league, and they have legitimate home court advantages. Waco, Texas, he doesn't have that. Scott Drew and that team. So listen, and the most important thing that I haven't said, you know who wasn't on the court the last 9+ minutes? James Akinjo. He was hurt. He was hurt. They don't have another point guard. I'm tired of people saying Adam Flagler's a point guard. He's not. He's an undersized 2. He is not a point guard. They need James Akinjo. Rob Doster's preseason first team All-American. He is the most important player on that team. That position is the most important position in college basketball.
And there's a possession late where Flagler had to create and tried to kick it out, and he threw it right into the hands of Oklahoma State. And it was like, that's where Akinjo's needed.
Twice. Right. He drove down the lane. They were down by 1. He drove the lane and throws the ball out of bounds. Right. Just
they win if Akinjo's on the court for the last 9.5 minutes. To me, Baylor wins this one. Now, they still lost the other night. Okay. So there's still, yes, I agree with you. I think it's a toss-up between Kansas and Baylor at the end of the day. Now, Baylor's dug themselves one hell of a hole, losing 2 games to teams they shouldn't have lost at home. But I still think when you throw those 2 teams at each other, it's a toss-up in terms of who wins.
Yeah, and I also the Big 12 is I mean, it's just a buzzsaw, man. Like there's
awesome.
no
Awesome.
we talk about how there's no nights off in the Big 10. Well, that's not necessarily true. There's some teams at the bottom of the Big 10 that are absolutely nights off every time that you play them. That's not the case. Like the team we talk about KenPom, right? You know what the lowest ranked team right now on KenPom is in the Big 12?
60th, right? Something like
Kansas State is 63rd. TCU is 61st. TCU beat Oklahoma today.
And Kansas State beat Texas Tech.
And
Like we were
Kansas
talking
State
about
beat Texas Tech. Like
that's
this
the
league
game.
is ridiculous.
You
So
think
are you
going
telling
to,
me?
Yeah.
Are you telling me that the worst team in the Big 12 could be the second best team in the ACC today? Is that what you're saying?
Basically.
I